Does your employer give annual bonuses? Let's talk about it. Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Chris, and in today's video, I want to talk about a budget, and not just a month-to-month budget, but an actual annual budget. I know for some watching this video, it may be unheard of to even think about setting a budget for an entire year, or some may even say, well, don't normal businesses do their budgeting like that, or even the government? On prior videos, I talked about the 20/80 plan or 80/20 plan, and yet I didn't talk about a budget and how to actually get to the 20/80 plan. Put aside 20% of your income and live off of 80%, where 10% goes to a church and another 10% goes to retirement. How can I talk about that if I haven't talked about budgeting? And in this video, I want to get there. I remember having a conversation with my brother about budgeting and how I was just excited about wanting to tell him more about setting a budget up. In this video, though, we're going to talk about an annual budget. Most businesses do this. That way, when there's something which is called net, businesses can then give that back to their employees or even put it into their companies. We can do the same thing, set a budget out for a year, and by the end of the year, possibly, if we stuck to our budget, have some net left over, or we can pay ourselves a bonus. So while I'm talking in this video, we're going to also look at a budget that I put together. I didn't put any numbers in there, but that way you can actually see how to set a simple budget up without paying anyone for software. You can use something as simple as Excel or Apple's numbers to set your budget up. And with simple formulas, as you plug in numbers, it'll calculate and adjust as needed when you put the numbers in. So, all right, I'm going to pull up numbers and we're going to go through and we're going to look at this budget. All right, so as we look at this spreadsheet that I created, as you can see to the left, starting off to the left, we have your line items, or what someone like to say, you want to have a name for every dollar that gets spent. So if you look at mine, starting off to the left, I have the item, and under the item column, I have the different items, right? So this isn't mine, but this is just a sample. So as you look at this, starting off, tithes and offering, that's your 10% out of your 80/20, and then investments, that would be your other 10%. And then from there, you go down, kids' college, mortgage, electric bill. So your electric and your water bill, depending on where you live at, some places, these will be the only two bills that may fluctuate throughout the course of the year. So one of the things that you can do to help with this is get an average over the past 12 months and then maybe go with the high average. That way you'll be safe doing that. As you go down, so like I said, those are the only two bills that may change throughout the year. But as you go down, everything else is pretty much going to stay the same if you call it a bill or savings or what have you. The items that I have in pink are my bills that I pay quarterly, right? So I don't have the necessary names, but so I like to color coordinate. That way I understand what I'm looking at. So if I see, let's say I have a quarterly bill that's $90 each quarter, I normally break that down by the year, so I know how much I need to put into that account each month, so that when that quarter comes, boom, I have $90. So in this case, it'll be $30 a month. Throughout the year is going to pay for each quarter of the year. So some of the bills, when you're first starting your budget, if you're starting off at the beginning of the year, you may not be within that quarter time frame, depending on when you got your house. So you may have to front load some of the bills that you may have, which is not a bad thing. So everything that I have on this sheet that's in bold, I have over here titled mandatory monthly bills total. So now keep in mind, for me, tithes is mandatory. I don't like to call it a bill, but for the sake of this, we're treating it like a bill because it's mandatory, right? It's mandatory that I have a home, I have a roof over my head. It's mandatory that I pay my electric bill. So I can consider these things mandatory. So if I were to go in here and let's just say I put $50, as you notice, it calculated it for the entire year, $600, and then it also adjusted my mandatory. Now some other things over here adjusted, but we'll get to that in a few. So once again, change this back to 0. So once again, all of the items for me on my sheet as I manage the budget, all of the items that are in bold, these are my mandatory monthly bills, and it's going to calculate where it says mandatory monthly bills total for the year. Now, all of the items that I have that are not in bold, these are discretionary items. So these are items that I can adjust throughout the month. So something that may be discretionary could be kids' clothing, right? Kids' clothing, for me, is something that's discretionary. Obviously, my kids do need clothes, but one month I may not need to save $50. I may only need to save $25. Depending on the amount of kids you have, depending on how much money you make, depending on where you shop, etc., will determine how much you want to save in your discretionary. So let's just say I put $50 in here. It's going to show that for 12 months, that's $600. And then if you look at the total discretionary year, it's $600. So as you look down at the end, I have total, end of month / discretionary, and this calculates it for the whole year, right? So let's go back up and go back to my tithes and offering. I'm gonna put $50 there. What do we have? We have $1,200, because it takes the mandatory monthly bills and the total discretionary and it adds it up. All right, so once again, discretionary, you can adjust how you want to adjust it. Other discretionary may be something called, you may want to call it blow money, right? And no, I'm not talking about cocaine, but blow money is money, you go out, you want to eat out for lunch one day, or you got a friend that may need something. You want to help that friend out. You don't want to take from your mandatory money. You want to take maybe from your blow money that you have left over, that you say, and it's not even leftover money, but it's money that you budgeted in, and you say, hey, I want to bless someone with, a tank of gas. So let's just say you do, $25 a month. Over the year, that's $300, and it adjusts your discretionary and it adjusts your total. So let's move over to the middle now. Now, people do things differently. For me, I like to budget off of my net, what actually comes in. So I got this spreadsheet from a friend of mine who helped me out when doing this budget annually, and I made some tweaks to it to fit my own needs. So for me, I normally put my net. So as I look over the course of 12 months, I say how much actually comes into my bank account, my net money, not gross, not before taxes, and I use that. So let's just say, I'm just using numbers. Let's say I make $2,000 a month. What happens? That middle row now changes. My total goes to $2,400, and then I have a total down here. Let's say I had some other income from, let's say I sold t-shirts. By the way, if you like some of the shirts from my other videos, I have a link below in the description. But if I just so happen to get, income from shirts, and it's a steady income, I know how much I'm getting throughout the month, etc. I can put, so let's just put t-shirts, and let's change that to $20 a month. I need to put 12 over here, and then I need to put the formula because the formula isn't. So I had to drag it down to put the formula in real quick. But let's say I made, $20 a month off the t-shirts I sold. That's, and I need to do this. All right, I had to make some adjustments. Sorry about that. So it bumps my total income up. It bumps it up. Like I said, I adjusted this for me and how I wanted to do it. Another thing I like about this particular form that I got from a buddy, and I kind of tweaked to make it mine, is how he put the tax info in here. And this isn't my income. I wouldn't dare share my income like that on social media or any sort of video. But just for the sake of putting in numbers, you can pause this video, you can look at it and kind of see how this makes sense and how much taxes a person would actually have to pay. You can use this and actually fill out your own information. Now, I'm not your tax person, so by all means, see a professional. Don't, claim that, oh, I learned how to do taxes from This Is Chris YouTube video, because then you can get in some big trouble, and I don't want you to get in trouble. But for me, this is something that's helpful for me because I can at least know from just in general how much money I should be paying in taxes and how to adjust my my exemptions throughout the year. So because I don't use this how my buddy uses this, I don't fill this out, because filling this out will also factor in some of these numbers down here. So as we get all the way to the right, as you can see, because I filled out some of my income information and I did put some information for my bills, it's going to give me a net. If throughout the year, these were the only two things I paid to, right? I put money in three things actually: tithes and offerings, clothing, and then blow money. If these are the only things I had to pay for, and I made $24,000, I would have a net of $22,000 and change. Now, what I would probably do is go back over here and increase some of these items so that my net can either, I can have a big buffer of net. That way I have bonus money at the end of the year, or I budget real tight and I get it down to zero, to close to zero as possible. What I wound up doing this year is having a net of a couple $100 or so, because I'm filling in the gaps of savings and making sure my bills is paid, and giving and retirement and kids' college, like all of those things that, for me at least, are important. I make sure I budget real tight so that I will have a net of a couple $100, and let's just say next year, December, I can treat my family to dinner, a couple dinners, what have you, or treat a friend, right? Because we're all about taking care of others. It's not all about ourselves. So this is the cool thing though, going back to the discretionary, because these two bills, the electric and water bill, can go up or down. Like I said earlier, my discretionary is discretionary. These are not mandatory things. It's not mandatory that I have blow money, but I have to ensure that I have the lights on. I have to ensure that I have water running. I have to ensure that I have a roof over my head. And by the grace of God, this year I was able to use a simple formula and actually budget for an entire year. Now, let's look at this next tab. So I have a tab I titled January 2020, and this is where the hard nose hitting budgeting comes in, right? So I have, a snapshot of an entire year, income that I'm making, how much is going out, my net. But then as you get down to the nitty gritty each month and you pay those bills, I created, so on my budget, this one is just a sample, but on my budget, I have it for each month. I have a final tab that tallies up each month and tell me if I'm left over with money or not. So once again, I know I'm saying left over with money because if I'm budgeting like I'm supposed to be budgeting, I really won't be left over with any money. It might be like $1 or $2, but it'll show me that. But normally what will happen is, because these discretionaries can adjust, let's just say my water bill is under what I budget. So let's just say I budget $100 for water bill, but that month is $90. All I would do for that month in this, not in this, but in one of the January, February, March, whatever tab, I would change a discretionary $10 more. So maybe my kids' clothing, which is discretionary, I would put, let's just say instead of $50, I'll put at $60. See how that works? Even still, because I stuck straight to my budget, I'm still gonna have a net at the end of the year because I didn't get it all the way down to zero. I wanted to have some little wiggle room. So this is where these months come in, because then you can actually see, you can drill down each month and see. So I just wanted to do a quick breakdown, and this video is gonna be a little longer because I got screenshots and I'm talking and kind of explaining this. This isn't an in-depth explanation of my yearly budget, but I wanted to give a tool, something that you can do, create. You can probably go online and download a pre-formatted Excel. A lot of this is just plug and play though. All I did was I took something that was given to me and I just made some adjustments. But like I said, I wanted to give a brief breakdown of an annual budget as well as talk about net after discretionaries and my annual bills are calculated. Once again, I often think about businesses who do their budgets and then they have bonus money that they give their employees or the money that they put back into their business. I would like to believe that's because they budgeted out so good that they left a buffer room, maybe for some net, or then two, they may have underspent what they've budgeted, so then they have some more money left over where they can pour back into their business or pour back into their employees. So this is a quick breakdown of that for me personally, and hopefully for you if you're a viewer. Real quick, I wanted to end with this. Now, you can spend money on programs like You Need a Budget. Whether you pay or not though, if you don't do this and keep up with it and don't manage it, your budget will go all out of whack. You'll find yourself overspending, you'll find yourself underspending, you'll find yourself wondering where that last $100 went because you didn't have a name to the dollar. As you can see on my budget, I had a name to a dollar so that when that money comes in, I know exactly where it's going. And if it's any left over, I have notes in my budget where to put that money. So when the end of the month comes, let's just say I have an extra $50, I can put that in a savings account, or that could be money at the end of the month to treat a friend or to even help someone on the street that don't have a dollar. Like I said, quick breakdown of my annual budget since we're coming to the new year. Hopefully this video will encourage you to maybe do an annual budget. I'm telling you, this is my first year doing it. And I'm excited, so excited that I wanted to do a video for you, the viewer. Check out some of my other videos that I have on budgeting, that I have on books that I'm reading, that I have on the Heidelberg Catechism, or that I have on health. I've been recently doing videos on vegan meals for the struggling vegan. So you might find them enjoyable. Last thing I wanted to say is for the month of January, I'm gonna be taking some time off because I'm possibly thinking about going back and pursuing my master's degree. That doesn't mean that I'm going to stop videos completely because I do enjoy pushing out this information to you, the viewer. But at the same time, I got to reevaluate things and see exactly what I want to do. So I'm going to take a little bit of time off for that and some other things that I have going on. I'll still be able to make videos. I may not do a video a week. It may be a couple throughout the month, but I still want to ensure that I push this content to you. So as always, you'll see me in the next video. Peace.